Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a kind of random episode of the Fight for Liberty show. So for those of you that didn't see it yet, I was on an episode of The Naturalist Capitalist with Reed Coverdale, along with my friend Jeremy Todd and Dave Smith. So we were all on a Zoom call together, recorded that. Afterwards, me, Reed, and Jeremy were still on the Zoom call, and we decided, hey, let's click record again and have a little bit more content. So there is no good start and stop to this because we just kind of clicked record mid-conversation and my computer died, or my internet died at the end and cut it off. But I just want to share this with you guys because it was some really awesome conversation between the three of us, and a little bit of a recap and kind of what we thought about the episode with Dave. So I will link the episode with Dave Smith on The Naturalist Capitalist in the description. I would highly encourage you watch that first. If you haven't watched it yet, go click that, then come back to this because you're going to be kind of lost throughout this conversation if you haven't seen that episode yet. So go check that out and enjoy.
But you know how there are diesel generators for your house?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a nuclear reactor self-managing that's that size for your house. The technology exists that can scale it down to that point.
Really?
Yes. The technology it exists, or it doesn't exist, but the technology and the sort of the theory, they've never built it because kind of like they have all these issues, but the ultimate idea is that this can be scaled down to an individual level.
That's the kind of shit I want to see. And the government keeps fucking with it. Why?
So do you want to, let me get real nerdy on it for you. Okay. So there's two changes in the way that these new generations of nuclear reactors can work. Number one is that you had solid fuel and it was liquid cooled, right? So this new technology, you have, the problem with that always is that the water had to be under pressure in order to reach the temperatures necessary, right? Well, they decided, all right, instead of using water, we can melt salt, like different forms of salt, a liquid at 900 degrees, and it doesn't require multiple atmospheric pressure. So like Chernobyl and the Hiroshima, not Hiroshima, the one in Japan or whatever, those explosions were pressure explosions because of the water. Well, with liquid salt, there's no pressure. And the moment the power cuts off, it solidifies.
Right.
And what you do is you dissolve the nuclear material in the liquid, and then you cool it with solids. And that's ultimately the process that makes it a ton safer. And so you could ultimately scale that whole thing down into the size of a generator that you would have for your house. And if shit hit the fan, you have liquid nuclear material that solidifies into salt that neutralizes it. So there's no such thing as a meltdown ever again. It's really fucking awesome.
I believe I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about that shit on Joe Rogan's podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
It's called liquid fluorium. Liquid fluoride thorium reactors. So thorium is the nuclear material. It's in wide abundance. It's as readily available as dirt. And then you dissolve it in liquid fluoride, which is a salt.
Wait, what would that be? Literner? That's
Lifter. Lifter. LFTR. Yeah. Liquid fluoride thorium reactor.
Lifter.
Yeah,
I like that.
Lifter technology. Yeah, he actually changed the name. He was like,
right. That was
it was molten salt.
I remember that.
something, and he was like, M's are bad. So, and then he wouldn't change it to lifter. Yeah. Anyways, I get nerdy on that, but that's mine.
I'm a big fan of learning things on the show. That's my favorite part of this show existing. And just my life now is like I have lived off of my dad's old saying of if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I will just consistently, I mean, fuck, we were in a room with Dave Smith virtually today, and that was amazing.
Hey, I'll tell you, I got some exciting developments too. I finally got on the phone with Brian Nichols.
Nice.
Yeah, and he's gonna have me on the show, and we I think what he's gonna do is he's gonna get he's literally the nicest person of all time, and he's pure enthusiasm because he's a sales guy, right? But it sounds like what he's gonna do is like have me on the show for a test run, and then if I pass said test run, he wants to have a recurring guest, i.e., me, who can, along with him, bounce ideas and strategy on how to sell Liberty based on what situations and issues are facing us that month, right? So it would be a once a month podcast on sell Liberty on the Capitol riots, right? Or whatever it is. And we would bounce ideas off one another and break down. Anyways, I think that would be fucking awesome. That's exciting. That's in the exciting news for me.
That's great. I love that, Dave talked in the show about how, we're just kind of starting to get a following and having people listen to what we say. And it's fun to watch that happen for my friends, and, it's happening for me a little bit as well. And that's also fun, not going to lie. But it's really, really fun because, like, Reed is the greatest dude ever. Like, if anyone deserved this, it was Reed fucking Coverdale. Like, that dude had to have dropped like $150 on like an afternoon for me and like 4 of our friends to just like go shoot a shit ton of guns.
Yeah, nice.
Like,
it is always
great,
man. There isn't a better feeling than seeing good people get what's coming to them.
Right.
Like, it's one of the best feelings in the world, and I couldn't agree with you more. And so that's when, like, he said it. He's like, he's like, I'm no longer just a guy. Now I have a responsibility to say something. I was like, oh shit, because I'm over here advocating not saying something. But I also don't have 100,000 people waiting for me to say something.
Right.
I'm like,
which is why I made the argument that, like, maybe the Horde should shut the fuck up. And at the moment, I consider myself part of the Horde for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's like levels to it. I think, how Dave said that he shouldn't have debated Archie Flowers. I think that me having him on the show is going to be great. There's people that I debate with on Twitter, especially and Facebook all the time, who are good personal friends of mine. And so I think that it's important to differentiate the levels. And, he has a responsibility to call out Joe Jorgensen. We might have a responsibility to call out each other, but crossing over those classes is a little bad, I think.
No, you make a great point. You make a fantastic point.
Thank you. I try very, very hard. I think that when Joe Jorgensen does something, we can maybe call her out a little bit, but definitely don't harp on it. Like say that was silly, move on. Let other people talk.
And here's why I'm going to give him a pass. Right? Is that he brought it to us that it wasn't like spoiled milk from Hornberger not getting the run. It wasn't spoiled milk that he It was just like, oh, this is poor messaging. You should say it the way I want you to say it. It was actually that he had been working, trying, doing literally everything else, and he gave so much of a shit that it frankly, he was like, I can't stand by and let this happen anymore.
Yep.
And that is something that I can actually go, I've been there. Like, I get it. I fucking get it.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Mr. Coverdale.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I'm in a hotel. It's a hotel / casino on the Nevada-California border, so I had to just.
Are you in Mesquite?
I am not in Mesquite. I'm in Prim.
Okay.
I have no idea where that is.
It's in the middle of nowhere in the desert. So.
Nice. It's the best place to be.
Sounds like you guys are talking about Dave's take on the Jorgensen campaign.
Yeah, we were talking about how a lot of stuff, and including how good of a dude you are, and that if anybody deserves to have their following picked up, it's you. And Dave told me the story about how much he spent taking everybody shooting that one day, and like
spent like
we were just like, yeah,
$100. Dude, so that was
I
such
undershot that. Did you hear that shit? God
Yeah, I
damn.
heard.
Okay, I didn't
he said
realize.
like $150.
This was an important cause, and I've opened up a little bit about this on my YouTube channel, but Tulsi was bad on guns, right? She wasn't as bad as the rest of the Democrats, but she was still bad. Like people want to act like she wasn't bad. She was definitely bad, but she was like savable. Like she wasn't insane, and she's had like 3 or 4 gun control planks that just needed to die, and it was so obvious that she didn't believe in any of them either. Like, because you would, there were a few of us that were talking to her all the time, and you'd say, I mean, you'd back her into a corner on these policies, and she would just basically admit that they were dumb. And I was like, okay, well, why are you doing this? And it's like, well, the Democrats. Look at the Democrats. Gotta play ball. She never explicitly said that, but that's kind of what she alluded to. So I don't know. I did like 100 hours of research on gun laws and different legislation that had been drafted and passed and what effects it had and like the gun safety statistics in every state. And the 2 that were near the bottom for shootings were Hawaii and New Hampshire. And so she was always pointing to Hawaii, like, oh, look at the regulations in Hawaii. It's like, yeah, but number 2 is New Hampshire. And we have only one state gun law. And it's something about like carrying a loaded rifle in a state park on a 4-wheeler or something. It's a stupid law. Aside from that, like, it's just federal regulations. And, she would, I don't know, she definitely realized that it was a dumb issue, but she was playing ball with the Democrats. So I figured, hey, what if we can get a bunch of her supporters to go shooting? And we got, I don't know if we still have those pictures, but there's pictures of us with a Tulsi sign. We got AR-15s and it's great. But
good times.
As I mentioned in the video with Dave, like I was a fucking pain in the ass on that campaign, and
you were
pissed off a lot of people. Like
that's why I liked you. You're cool.
Yeah, apparently someone in Massachusetts was like, hey, I heard there's some like redneck guy here who's making a big fuss about guns or something, and I never even met him. I was like, not sure I like that title, but it's true.
Accurate though.
But and I remember I was on a long car ride with a few people up to northern New Hampshire, and I basically explained to them why free college is the stupidest idea in the world. And, I also talked to people about the minimum wage, how that's like a racist origin, like all it is designed to do is to keep people from getting jobs. And so I was devious. Like I was definitely campaigning for her, and I never misrepresented her when I was knocking on the doors. Like if they asked me, what does she think about assault weapons? I'd be like, oh yeah, no, she's not a fan of those. Or, like, well, what does she think about healthcare? I'd tell them the truth, but then like when we were walking, I'd be like, so I was definitely defecting her supporters slowly.
That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely also a struggle to convince libertarians that she isn't as bad as they thought she was on those issues. Specifically, guns and healthcare were two very important ones for me, as well as the environment. She does not support Medicare for all. She does not support the Green New Deal. She does not actually, she didn't really support the assault weapons ban. She did co-sponsor it in the end, but like, yeah.
She also didn't, she never supported, she just never voted for any confiscation legislation.
Right.
Like, never voted for anything that would take guns that people already own.
She voted against red flag laws when Dan Crenshaw voted for it.
Interesting.
That's something people need to remember. And then, like, healthcare, again, specifically, she has a different policy than everyone's talking about. She's not Medicare for all. Single payer plus is significantly more liberty-minded, capitalistic, and free market friendly than anything else that's come out of the Democratic Party. And people people just want to skip all over that. Rope her in with Bernie.
The thing is, like, you know, Ron Paul's ideal society versus Tulsi Gabbard's ideal society, yeah, they're not that close together. But in practice, if you were to put either of them in the White House, and the policy changes that would come from either of them as president are going to be very similar, because of what they have control over. That was my approach. It was like, okay, she can end the wars. She can veto the reauthorization of the Patriot Act. She can encourage the states to, decriminalize drugs. She can free nonviolent prisoners. She can do a lot to attack executive power, which is something she talked a ton about, was how we have too much executive power. Like, she talked about that more than Republicans, because Republicans love executive power.
Talked about it more than anyone else ever in the history of ever. Other than like fucking
Thomas and then Joe Jorgensen was going to abuse executive power more than Tulsi would, because he's going to like executive order us back to the Constitution, which was like, okay, I get it, but I mean, aren't we supposed to follow the right tools still? I don't know. So
how matters.
How matters.
What do we want the topic of this one to be?
We're recording, right? Already,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, we're recording, and we're talking about how awesome our fucking lives are right now, because I don't know, I'm enjoying. I had a great day, guys. Like, I'm just like sky high. It's not even because of the weed. I was having a fucking great day before I even started smoking. I'm in I'm house sitting for some of my best friends in the entire universe, and there's a great couple from my church, and they're on they're taking a family vacation, and I am taking care of the cat and the house while they're gone. I have a great view of the Verrazano Bridge. I have time to like chillax in Brooklyn and do some work. And get the campaign going, and get like meet some of these people. Like, I'm a fucking 20 minutes away from Dave Smith now. Like, I could probably actually go grab a beer with him now. We joked about it on Twitter the other day, but like, maybe that can be a thing. And on top of that, we are we're having these conversations, and I think, I had a couple of really good conversations today with people on social media, and then we had the conversation with Dave Smith where we all agreed at the end of the recording, like, he fucking touched on every single point we wanted to talk about, and like said what we were all thinking, and it was like, fuck yes, thank you. He said he said like 6 or 7 things that made me go but there were 4 of us, and like, it wasn't, if he ever comes on my show, I would like to talk about some of those things, and maybe push back on a little bit of what he said. But I don't think that was the time or the place. There was too many of us, and we were trying to have a productive conversation. But for the most part, it was great. And so, yeah, I'm having a great time. I hope you guys are having a great time. We're gonna make Liberty win, guys. Can we steal that from you?
Hopefully it was a huge white pill. I think Reed asked me at the end of our
white pill.
So correct pill. Yeah, it's like I have hope again.
Yeah.
Why not gold pill? Because like
Well, I've heard that too, but
white pilled sounds racist.
what does gold pilled mean? Like I have hope and liberty again? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. Maybe we don't take pills as a movement.
Yeah,
Can we like maybe
that's a good
do
idea.
that?
Yeah, I am super excited. I've got like a ton of high profile people. I've been super lucky. I've got Kim Iverson on Saturday. On YouTube. I didn't realize that. And then I had Scott Horton. I don't know if you guys ever caught that interview. That was pretty good. I got a few people get upset about it because I think it's important to have conversations like that every once in a while, just to get a reminder where true north is, because we have people we admire, but then you have to remember, like, okay, yeah, they're still not perfect. There's still things they still have flaws. And I actually learned that working on Tulsi Gabbard's campaign, because I kind of idolized her till I met her. And then you'd actually like hang out with her a long time, and you'd be to a lot of different town halls, and you'd hear an answer that sounds slightly different at one town hall from the last one you were at. And you'd be like, okay, so I mean, it happens with everybody. And it's good to just, that's why it's so important to go after principles instead of people, right? Like decide what's going to set your course. And then if people support those ideas, then you're going to work with them. But so many people obsess over the person, whoever it is, and then the person will deviate and they'll follow the person, and they'll make excuses for the person and leave the principle behind. That's what's happened with Bernie Sanders. Like, he's the embodiment of that. He has no principles, but his followers still love him, and we hate that. So if we're going to hate that, we got to be better than them. We've got to be like, okay, if Justin Amash does something I disagree with, I'm just going to say, no, I don't agree with this. And this kind of comes down to what Dave was talking about with Joe Jorgensen, right? That's kind of what he did.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't commit to a person. He's committing to the ideas of liberty. So his way of deviating was, well, I really don't think that this is representing liberty well. Then he went the route he went.
So let me pose this question to you guys then. There are superficial obstacles that have been put in place that are keeping, in my opinion, the Libertarian Party from ever achieving any real success. And so is it reasonable, and I think this is what Sarwark was trying to get at, but he was really poor at kind of explaining it, and like John McCain is inexcusable. But if we get to 5%, if we get anybody on a debate stage, doesn't that do something for the next person in line that we're going to put in?
Yeah.
I mean, where is it worth it for us to say we're going to excuse something?
I think we do need to clarify.
You know what I mean?
Sorry. Yeah. Didn't mean to cut you off there. I think I want to clarify two things that Dave said in the show. First of all, the John McCain nice things was after he died. There was a rest in peace kind of tweet, which I think is okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one time you're allowed to say nice things about someone is the day they die. And then on top of that, when he was talking about Dick Cheney, he posed in a hypothetical world where Dick Cheney wanted to end the war on drugs, and like listed off a couple of other things, like, then would you support him? And he said yes. Like, he didn't just say that we should run John McCain or Dick Cheney because they have clout.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I guess what Dave was talking about when he was on his show was like, no, when Dave had him on his show, it was like, so we should support the Libertarian candidate no matter who it is.
Right.
And Sarwark's like, yes. And then Dave was like, so Dick Cheney. And Sarwark's like, yeah, Dick Cheney. because Dave kind of rolled over him and was like, well, Hitler. And what I think Sarwark was trying to get at was like, if we get to 5, if we meet these milestones, right, then that changes the game. And that was kind of the view I had last fall, was if we meet these milestones, the game changes. So we all kind of need to rally to meet these milestones.
Mm-hmm. Well, that conversation.
Where does that do more damage than we can fix, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that conversation was the day of their debate at the Soho Forum, which was what I was kind of talking about. So the conversation that you're talking about happened literally like an hour after. So I considered it in reference to that and might have misunderstood. But
so you saw both.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
The debate is great. I would have loved to have been there. I was too broke to afford a ticket, but it was a good debate.
Yeah, I think I talked to Larry Sharp about this when he was on my show. The nominee needs to be somebody who represents libertarianism well. Mm-hmm. Like Larry Sharp was saying, if Mitt Romney becomes a libertarian, we shouldn't run him as the nominee because he doesn't represent libertarianism. He said vice president, he doesn't care about as much. He thinks that's more about name recognition. And I tend to agree.
Same.
But
so does the duopoly.
Yeah, but I think it does matter, like a little bit. I think Bill Weld was a bad VP decision because he sucked on executive power, like things that you'd have executive power over. I think if you had Tulsi Gabbard or someone like that as the VP, they're good on executive power. They disagree on kind of irrelevant shit to the vice presidency or the presidency even. So if you had like Mike Lee or Tulsi Gabbard or somebody who's not like a pure libertarian that agrees on the executive issues of the presidency, I think for VP that's fine. But I think for president, we need someone who's good. I mean, if we ran Tulsi Gabbard for president, I think we're admitting that libertarianism is a joke at that point, in my opinion. Because we
makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
it would be like, okay, we can't actually win on these principles. We're gonna,
change them.
And I'm saying that if we ran her in her current form right now, like would be. I don't think that would be the right move.
Even after she backed off of her gun stance, you still think that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think she's I think she's got to embrace decentralization to be a libertarian.
Mm-hmm. So I have to admit, I'm a little bit sympathetic to monopoly mentality within the government, especially if you've worked in the federal government and you've seen how much money they have to play with, because it is a proven fact that monopolies are more efficient. And so if you're talking about trying to spend less money and raise less taxes and, help more people, doing it as a national thing is going to accomplish all of those goals better with possibly lower quality of service. If someone like Tulsi Gabbard is in the White House, that is.
So I think
that's kind of why I'm sympathetic. I don't agree with her, but I think that it's less libertarian, I think it's more libertarian than than a lot of people consider it to be, because I think that it's definitely in a misguided idea coming from a very good, almost completely libertarian place of like helping more people and making the government work more efficiently.
So I'm going to blow your mind here. If we were to go to Medicare for all, I would rather have Bernie's plan, because I think if you're going to do it, you have to go.
You gotta go
100% authoritarian. You have to destroy private insurance companies. You have to get rid of big pharma completely. You've got to just nuke it and make it so that the government is the only option you have.
Why?
If you're really trying to stream, because with the current system, if you keep all the insurance companies and then you also have this government system, it's just going to be so open to cronyism, and you're not eliminating any of the problems that already exist. And I don't think it would streamline anything. You just have like another government program that you could opt into if you want, but it wouldn't necessarily streamline anything because you haven't gotten rid of all that crap that Bernie, he was willing to go like full communist in his healthcare plan, just like completely take over everything and nuke it.
I think the addition, like she had a few more parts of her healthcare platform than just the single payer plus. That included going after big pharma and the private insurance companies and making the cronyism less profitable, closing the loopholes in the patents on drugs so that, they could be made by generic brands quicker so that people could get it cheaper, faster. She definitely had a larger platform than even I gave her credit for quite some time. And I think that it was definitely missed because she didn't talk about it all that much. She talked about the big pharma and the drug companies. She talked about that a lot because she cared about that a lot. And she had like AARP's endorsement because she talked about that a lot. And it was great. Almost more than single payer plus. So I think that, Tulsi Gabbard's healthcare plan is a significant improvement to what we have right now, just like in my opinion, again. And I also think that Andrew Yang's original nuke welfare and replace it with UBI plan is significantly better than what we have.
Yeah. So I think in theory, yes, I agree. In practice, I doubt it. Just because this government literally can't do anything. I mean, they can't even do $600 checks to everyone.
Well, again, in a world where either of them are sitting in the White House.
Well, I don't think you look at how horribly unprincipled the most principled people in Congress are. Like, I consider Rand Paul in the top 3 most principled voters that we have. Mm-hmm. And look at how bad he is. I mean,
right.
And look at how bad Bernie is. Like, Bernie's one of the better voters. Look at all the cronyism and corporatism and crap that they vote for. So, we can't expect a clean passage of legislation in the first place. But even if we do, it's going to be so corrupted in such a short amount of time because nothing in this government lasts. It just turns into a festering cesspool of corruption.
Yeah.
On a grander scale, when we talk about, I get what you're saying, David, that take a look at Amazon. They're the biggest, so therefore they are the most efficient. They reduce waste. They're able to spread the load a little more effectively. And that is why that shit works in Scandinavia. Is because it's basically a monolithic culture. It is essentially equivalent to one single state. The issue is if you were to say, so Malcolm Gladwell tells this story in one of his TED Talks about a food specialist and what he was hired to make Pepsi's response to Diet Coke, essentially. And so he did what he was supposed to do as a food scientist. He altered the level and mixture of sweetness and flavor and water and all this other sort of stuff. He had people taste test. He found the bell curve. And he goes, okay, this is the one most people like. That's the one we're going to go with. Mm-hmm. And then several years later, he goes, I made a huge mistake. I shouldn't have been looking for the perfect Pepsi. I should have been looking for the perfect Pepsi. So he was then hired by Prego And at the time, Ragu had Ragu traditional. It was the only spaghetti sauce or Italian sauce you could buy, right? And he went through and taste tested multiple varieties and found 5 that most people love. And he revolutionized the food industry by releasing 5 Pregos, right? The meat, the hearty vegetable, or the garden chunky, all of those different flavors, because then it becomes tailored to the individual. And that's really what libertarianism is about. It's your life. It needs to be tailored. So if we go to the federal government and we say, give us health care, or give us a car is a great example. What is the ideal car for America going to look like?
I think car is a straw man argument in response to healthcare, because those are 2 very different things.
Here's why I disagree.
And also clarification, because we're talking about health insurance, not healthcare in reality.
Well, healthcare in reality. So, for example, the treatment of obesity in Wisconsin is far more severe than the treatment of obesity in Hawaii. Just like the treatment of skin cancer in Wisconsin is very different than the treatment of skin cancer in Florida, right? We are too big for universal solutions. We are too big, too diverse, too different across this country for a universal answer. Texas needs trucks the same way that New York City needs taxis and California needs electric cars. It's that variety that brings things good. And we can all say that one size fits all healthcare works, but it really doesn't. It needs to be a decision between a doctor and an individual.
We're talking about one size fits all health insurance.
Well, no. So
single payer plus, if that's what we're talking about, is one size fits all insurance, which is what we basically have anyway in the private sector.
Yes. And it's also a problem. And so decentralizing that is the answer, not more centralizing it. That's my take on it. Now, if we want to get into healthcare and health insurance,
it through one. I mean, the private health insurance companies do provide a slight variety, and they could do a better job, but they provide a variety of coverage based on your needs. Some form of government health insurance could do the same thing. Just and again, if we make it a choice. And I think, Tulsi Gabbard actually talked about this a lot. And this is one of the things that made me actually super sympathetic to her platform, is her reasoning to kind of go towards what you were saying, Reed, of keeping the private industry alive and keeping it a free market capitalistic solution, was that the free market will decide, right? That's like the libertarian slogan is like, if you do this and then the private industries get better at what they're doing and it's better than what I just drew up, then nobody's going to go to the government for this shit and it'll die off and we can get rid of it.
Oh, there's one problem though. You couldn't opt out of it. If you could have opted out of it, then yeah, you had to pay into the system, right? Single payer plus.
Always key, right? If any government program that offers an opt out, I have no fucking problem with.
Yeah,
if we're being honest. Like I have no problem with every Bernie Sanders socialist dilemma if you give individuals the right to opt out. And healthcare is so fucked. And let me give you let me paint a picture of an example for why. We all know my wife is a doctor, right? She can perform a hip replacement for around $5,000. If you go to Mexico, a hip replacement can be performed for $12,000 by an American surgeon in Mexico. If you get an American surgeon to do an American hip replacement in America, it's $80,000. The problem is the price, right? Now, my wife is a veterinarian. What don't they have in veterinary medicine? They're starting to get insurance, but so few people have insurance, right? Everything is out of pocket. So it drives the price down to meet the consumer demand. And now you may say, oh, well, they put people down and, they put dogs down. Are they going to put humans down? No, that's nonsense, right? We're already talking about the argument that's being made that people are being denied healthcare because they can't afford it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what is reducing the cost by tenfold going to do? It's going to make more people be able to afford it. And so until we address the issues with price, government paying for it isn't going to help jack shit.
I actually wholeheartedly disagree, and kind of to the point that Dave Smith made in the episode. Right now, we have a bunch of people that don't have any fucking money at all. I have like $50 right now. Like, if I hurt myself and I had no insurance, I would be fucked regardless of the price. I couldn't spend $20 on fucking cast on my leg right now. That would mean that I don't eat at the end of the week. So there's definitely still a need for something to hold up the people that are absolutely broke and destitute and cannot fend for themselves, whether they're disabled or mentally troubled or just down on their luck or recently unemployed or whatever the case may be, whether there was just a pandemic that fucked up their entire lives. There's still, I think, a need for the government to exist and help in that until we solve a fuck ton of other problems. And I think single payer plus addresses, or her healthcare platform as a whole addresses a lot of the problems, solves a little bit of the money problem, would drive down the cost significantly, and we could fix the other issues over the next couple of years.
So explain to me how we cut the cost of Medicare, medical procedures and medicine by 90%, basically, or actually by 900%, which is what happens when you deregulate and you free up the market like Mexico has.
Well, first of all, I'm not opposed to deregulation and freeing up the market. I think that first of all, you can do that. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. You can have a deregulated market that the government
you're arguing
for a little bit.
So you're arguing for a safety net.
Yeah, that's it. That just a safety net that protects people that are just like super fucked up right now. For people, because that's a lot of people, especially right now as we enter 2021. Like
what's broken with our current safety? I don't disagree with you. What's broken with our current safety net system is that we draw a hard line in the sand. Who qualifies, who doesn't qualify. Either you do qualify or you don't qualify, right? And so there's plenty of money in our current tax structure if we cut pork and waste, right? We don't have to implement all of these new policies. There's plenty of money to exist where if we graduated a system, right? And you can call it co-insurance, for example. So when you take out insurance right now, you pay 20%, they pay 80%, and you can eventually graduate to XYZ. It's still going to drive up the cost, but you do that to offset those who, it doesn't matter what it costs, they need it. The other thing that terrifies me, and I think this is the one that if supporters of government healthcare really want to get some traction, this is the fear that people on the right and left have, is that you will be denied service if the government does not deem it necessary. They'll claim, oh no, your doctor tells you need it, you can have it. Okay, my doctor medically recommended that I need breast implants. You're gonna tell me that that Donald Trump's doctor won't say some wild shit like that? Like you can't find a doctor who will just say some wild shit that you need it, and all of a sudden the taxpayers are supposed to pay for it. So there are going to be things in place where they say you can have this or you can't have this.
Mm-hmm. And that's why
and that's terrifying.
That's why single payer
what
plus
needs to be addressed.
I see. I hate to. I really don't like, because I agree with Breed's like whole fucking message about like don't idolize people, but I really did like Tulsi's healthcare platform, and that's why I liked she specifically brought up with single payer plus that you can identify what is a necessity, and that we can decide that as a country in Congress, like we discuss it with your representatives. Your representatives discuss it. And
do we want Congress deciding that?
Yeah.
Or do we want doctors and individuals deciding that?
Well, it's that the clincher is just Congress deciding anything. Like, I mean,
Right.
that's what I
It's terrifying.
when I hear the idea of single payer plus, like it was honestly something that I listened to when I was on our campaign because a lot of it made sense. Like the concept is good. Concept is we can save trillions of dollars if we have this system where we all just pay into a pool. It was basically like a giant health insurance cooperative. That was kind of the idea of single payer plus. Makes sense. But Congress, yeah, they can't decide anything correctly. So it's like, if you need a babysitter and you have a certain group of people you can pull from and they're all prison convicts who raped their first wife, or, I don't know. I mean, you just have this horrible selection of people that you're trying to get a babysitter from. Like you're going to be better off not doing it, even though you're going to be without a babysitter, just because, I mean, look at the stimulus packages, all three of them, the two that have passed and then the one that's being drafted right now and argued over, 80% of everything goes to corporations and the military and foreign governments. So like, why would we expect this pool of money that's going to be created by single payer plus to be handled responsibly? I mean, how have they handled Social Security? They've raided it to take us to war, and they've
Right.
And so I don't trust Congress at all. I don't trust the federal government with any of this stuff. So I agree with the problem, Dave. Like, yeah, we have people who don't have health insurance.
Absolutely.
I would be much more comfortable if Utah wants to create a single payer system. I would be more open to that than if the federal government wanted to, and specifically if county by county we wanted to do it, town by town, somewhere where it's more decentralized, more transparent. We're more familiar with the needs of the surrounding people. I'd be all for it. I mean, I think that type of thing is great.
I don't think
Right.
single payer
With
plus
our
works on
healthcare
that
system.
small of a scale. Like a county in Utah, I legitimately don't think it works on that small of a scale. Yeah, that's part
Why
of the
wouldn't it?
issue. You wouldn't have enough money to pool from necessarily
Yeah,
to
why
always.
Where does it come from now?
Well, I mean,
Well,
if you do like a national system or even a statewide system, you have large chunks of money coming from the people that own the larger portions of big cities. Even in Utah, Salt Lake City produces a shit ton of revenue. State by state, I think it could work, but county by county, I think is a little too small.
And I feel better about state by state, but even
I
there,
could concede to state by state.
Like Reed,
sure.
Reed mentioned the stimulus package of over 5,000 pages, right? Imagine what every healthcare procedure and the qualifiers and disqualifiers, the double check,
they vote on stuff they don't read.
man, what a nightmare. And you're going to spend twice as much on healthcare administrative costs just to be sure you don't fuck up that 50,000 page regulatory bill. And so if you decentralize and you take this to a local level and you let people help each other out, because healthcare conglomerates or healthcare co-ops used to exist at a very small level, 100 people, 150 people. Right now, and I would encourage you to go listen to Hannah Cox's show on universal healthcare that she did. There are, and we did this in veterinary medicine a little bit, there are prepaid preventative services in care. One of the problems is that for instance, if I wanted to get on my wife's insurance plan right now, it costs her $700 a month. We're about to have to figure out what that's going to look like for the baby. $700 a month, right? To just have me have normal health care. Do you know what catastrophic, like $5,000, deductible, kind of in case of an emergency, I have a big issue, cost me? $60 a month. Right? That's what insurance should be and should look like. And in for the other stuff, the preventative medicine stuff, the doctor's visits, the colds, the prescriptions, all that sort of stuff, veterinary medicine now has like a Netflix model. You subscribe, you get this much stuff done, and you pay $50 a month for it. So basically, for $100 a month instead of $700 a month, I can have my normal stuff covered, and I can have like worst case scenario accident covered. That can absolutely be done at a local level, right? It's all of the bureaucratic kind of in between bullshit that causes a lot of drama and issues. I think the one piece that flips between one model to the other, and I am sympathetic to this, is chronic illness. It doesn't address chronic, right? And so we need better ideas, because the answer isn't tax people to pay the $700 a month that I would have to pay right now to get normal health insurance, right? Obviously, and then write a 30,000 page bill. But the answer also isn't leave people who need insulin to die. And so we need better ideas, and I just haven't heard them yet.
Fair enough. I would definitely, if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read through Tulsi's healthcare platform, because it is very nuanced and weird and confusing, and you have to dig it through it. Single Payer Plus, it's like a 20-something page bill. It's not huge, but it's there's stuff in it that addresses a lot of people's concerns that like Medicare for All doesn't even though the bill is like 4 times as big. And I there's definitely things that I would add to the healthcare platform. What, Reed?
He's freezing.
I didn't
think
even
he's checking
realize
out.
there's a 20-page summary up. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We can hear you. Your video's frozen though.
Okay. Okay. Is there? I didn't realize there was actually a 20-page summary of it, because we were looking for that like on the campaign, and it's because we only had like 3 paragraphs on our website, but there's a 20-page summary of it.
I believe, I had a copy of it at one point in time. I'm looking for it right now. When I first joined the campaign, and now I'm also struggling to find it. Did it disappear?
That was like my other big frustration on that campaign, is there were a lot of ideas without like highly detailed policy descriptions. You know, it was an evolution in process throughout the campaign. So we were like waiting to hear, you know, this policy is going to be released. And then we just like never saw it. It was just kind of lip service. I think that was one of the things about the campaign that was a little annoying.
Yeah, I'll have to do some digging, because I do remember reading like a write out of something about Single Payer Plus, but I don't remember what it was. I read that at the same time I read the Auth Act.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and try to find it. But I was gonna say, there's things that I would add to my healthcare plan. You know, you asked how do we drop it down by 900% or whatever. I think was the number you used, which is a great number. I like that number. It's a big number. Huge numbers.
I just remember the numbers. 80,000. We looked into hip replacements specifically. It is $80,000 roughly on average here in the U.S. to get a hip replacement. If you fly an American doctor to Cancun and get it done in a hospital in Cancun out of pocket, you're $12,000. And to do it for a dog in America, basically, which by the way, I don't know if you know this, like for instance, if you replaced a Great Dane's hip, that's the size of like some females. So we're not talking about huge differences in anatomy here where you're like, oh, well, this is a lower quality of care. It's nonsense. The doctors still go through the same training, the same it basically takes you 12 years to do a hip replacement in veterinary medicine, just like it would human medicine.
Right.
12 years of training, right? So it's $5,000. So what's different? Where is $75,000 fucking dollars going? That's the question we need to answer.
Mm-hmm. There are definitely a few answers to that question that I've addressed previously on the show, and I said in our meeting a couple weeks ago that like Dan Fishman has the best explanation of like why healthcare is fucked up, and I heard that back in like 2019, early 2019, and I was like, fuck yeah, that'll make sense. So part of it is the fact that we have a limit to how many people can become doctors in the country every year. Get rid of that shit.
Supply and demand. Yeah,
right. We have a rule that nurses can't do shit without a doctor overseeing it, which is bullshit because nurses can do like most of the things. So we need to get rid of that. Tulsi talked about, and so did Dan, about the manipulation of patents in the prescription drug market. Get rid of those loopholes, make it available for generic companies to produce these drugs. There's a couple of like really quick, easy, like 2-page bills that could drop healthcare across at least to a quarter. I don't know about 900%, but at least
no. And what is it? Certificate of need that's still legal in certain states. That is some absurd bullshit. Have you guys heard of certificate of need?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. What
it's in a lot
pile
of states.
Of garbage. Right. Yeah. It's in too many. One is too many, but absolute nonsense to not let the free market work and provide and that sort of thing.
For people that don't know, certificate of need is when you need to ask the government's permission to build a hospital or a healthcare facility because they like monopolies.
Yeah, basically that's it. And guess who gets to decide? Guess who gets to vote on whether you receive that certificate of need? The other hospitals and doctors in that field.
Yep.
That you would be taking money from and creating competition for,
yep.
Thus driving down their price. How the hell do you think they vote most of the time? No,
it's ridiculous.
They want to hold monopolies. It's the most absurd stuff ever. And here, let me give you a wild example of why it's unnecessary and stupid. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. They have an under-equipped veterinary school here, but we pull in veterinarians constantly. There's probably 1,000 vets offices in this city. My wife is booked 2 weeks out. Like the demand will always meet, like it's nonsense that doctors are going to run out of a supply of clients or customers. It's absolute brutal nonsense. It's not a reality.
Yeah. So it's a false scarcity that we definitely need to get rid of.
Absolutely. And so here's my point. If we do that, then I am going to be more likely, more receptive to ideas of government paying for it.
And that's why I was receptive to a lot of what Tulsi was talking about, because she was talking about a lot of other awesome things, both in healthcare and in things that have, overflow effects in healthcare, like drug reform and criminal justice reform, and mental health care and reform, and different things like that would spill over into the field. Where I was like, if we had something that the government was paying for would be cool. If all we're doing is just like trying to be like, well, if $1 trillion doesn't work, let's try $5 trillion.
Right. Just throw more money at it.
Yeah. I'm not cool with that. Where, like I said, Tulsi was a lot more nuanced in a lot of what she talked about, at least, in some of her town halls and like in her Rogan appearances, especially. she talked about a lot of this stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can see that actually working
Yeah,
out.
the thing that bugged me about Tulsi is she talked a great talk, but she would vote. I mean, her voting record kind of sucks, if we're being honest. Like, she voted for a lot of shitty legislation because it had a little bit of something good in it. Like, that is honestly, if I have any one big criticism of her, that's what it is. Like, the stimulus package that she was one of 2 Democrats to vote against, um, right before Christmas. Like, that night, I was super nervous because I didn't know what she was going to do. I didn't know if she would think the $600 was enough to be willing to vote for that. So, if she could wave a magic wand and, get her ideal system in place or something, then, it might be okay. But given what Congress is, and given what she's shown she's willing to compromise on in order to get a little bit of something good, I certainly wouldn't be that open to that just because of what it would actually end up being.
Fair.
Like, I mean, I think it's unfair. People point out like, oh, AOC and Tulsi Gabbard had a 95% similar voting record in Congress. And it's like, yeah, but that's because it's Congress, if they...
Right, the bills suck. Like...
Yeah, exactly. So if you compared legislation that she has written to AOC's legislation, it's not going to be 95% similar. It's that you have these terrible fucking bills. And I would vote like Justin Amash and Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, and I would vote no if it's not a good bill. Where Tulsi's, I disagree with her strategy, but she's more pragmatic than me, I guess. She thinks, okay, if this bill has something in it that is beneficial, I'm going to vote for it. I think we're at the point where you have to just say no, because we're not winning. We're not winning with the little gains in the bills. We're losing with the giant giveaways that we're, granting to businesses and corporations and, regulatory systems. So, I don't know. I really like Tulsi, and I think she's got a good head and good heart. I think that, I don't know. I really think vice president is a good spot for her, because I think she is a good influence, and, that she has clear vision. I don't really like her in a legislative or an executive place where she's actually signing legislation, just because I don't trust her there, just because it's not that I don't think she's well-intended, but she just doesn't have the discipline to veto or to vote no on enough things, because she thinks that she's getting good stuff for her constituents, I guess.
Well, let's go. You bring up VP. I got to hit this point, David. Hold yours, because I want to hear it, but this one will be quick. I can't think of a better VP, and let me tell you why. If the shit hit the fan, if we had another 9/11 and somehow the president died, she's the right person, right? Oh, yeah. She's not gonna rush into a war. She's gonna be that solidifying presence that can kind of rally the troops long enough for the American people to get their feet back under them before, and then it won't be about legislation, right? Like, that's the thing I view about Tulsi, is that she is great as a leader. And so if we put her in a position where she gets to be a leader without legislating, that's how she adds the most value to the American people. And so you said that about VP, and I was like, man, who better to take over? I'm watching the Designated Survivor right now, and so that's why that popped in my head. I was like, man, she would be perfect. I mean, perfect. Yeah. All right, David.
Sorry. So I have a belief that 8 years of Amash Gabbard in the White House would be quite enough to reform her, and so then we could have 8 years of like Gabbard Sharp, and then 8 years of Sharp Coverdale, and then 8 years of Coverdale fight, and then just have some fun.
I'm so glad you left me out because I want no fucking part of it.
I want you to be the campaign manager, bro.
Fine. I do not need my fucking skeleton, aired out publicly. I've lived a hard 33. Without doing drugs, which is the really fucked up part of it.
It doesn't sound like any.
No, I agree with you though, Dave. I think that that would be perfect. Or even if she doesn't become VP, if she hangs out with libertarians, if she joins the Libertarian Party and just gets influenced by the ideas and by the principles, I think she'd be fine. I think she's a lot closer than most people give her credit for. So
right. Why do we pretend like osmosis isn't a thing? Like we always tend to shift a little bit based on who we're around. So these great leaders, we should be welcoming them in and then shaping them. Right. Yeah. I don't know. Osmosis is real. I was probably still very much so a conservative when I first voted for Gary Johnson. Mm-hmm. And now I'm not a conservative at all. And that is 100% due. Yikes. That is 100% osmosis.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this with Dave in our video. He was saying like he doesn't know who the libertarian leader is going to be. He said he doesn't view it as himself. He said maybe Tom Woods, but Tom Woods doesn't want to do it. I think, Justin Amash seems like the obvious one who's going to step into that role. And we should be trying to change him, influence him, because he's been in Congress for a decade around a bunch of idiot Democrats and Republicans.
Well, there you have it, guys. As I said, there's no good end period there. It just kind of cuts out mid-conversation, and I do apologize for that. I was a little bit annoyed because it also cut me out of the conversation. I was off the Zoom call for the rest of the evening, so I missed out on the rest of that conversation along with you guys. So I do apologize for that, but thanks for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and go follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. It's all at Fight for Liberty. So I really, really appreciate you guys watching this stuff. It's fun to be able to talk to these kinds of people all day and get to learn new things and debate ideas. And honestly, it's the greatest thing that I've ever really been able to do with my life. So I appreciate you guys for making that a thing. If you do want to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/fightforliberty or just send me like a one-time donation on Cash App. It's a # Fight for Liberty. Everything's Fight for Liberty. It's a rare name, so I was able to get just about every handle for it. I'm happy about that. So once again, thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fight for Liberty, and support the channel at patreon.com/fightforliberty. And as always, keep up the fight.